Hey, this your man Tony Wiggins with another edition of Locked On Jaguars. We're giving out grades and progress reports. We'll do that here on a Tuesday edition of Locked On Jaguars in just a second. Stand by and stick with me, man, because we got a good show coming for you today.
You are Locked On Jags, your daily Jacksonville Jaguars podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
What's going on, good people? This is Tony Wiggins here with Locked On Jaguars, and we appreciate you making Locked On Jaguars your first listen of the day. Thank you guys very much for joining me as always, and we are free everywhere on all platforms. Today's show is sponsored by Rock Auto, which gives you amazing selection, reliably low prices, all the parts your car will ever need. Visit rockauto.com and tell them Locked On sent you today. Well, it's the day that a lot of kids, I remember growing up, we dreaded sometimes when you didn't think you did really well. We dreaded getting that progress report and that report card and taking it home to mom or dad or both. In my case, it was grandma, because I knew I was going to get admonished, because she knew exactly what I did wrong, which was probably talk too much. But now I talk for a living here with the Jaguars, so I'm going to get into that today. We're going to give offensive MVP, defensive MVP, and best free agent addition. And then also we'll go through that in the first two segments. And the final segment, I'm going to go with most improved player and most disappointing aspect of the team. So let's get right down to it. 1-15 last year. We talked about the blue sky, that there was nowhere to go but up with all of the cap space and all of the draft picks and the enthusiasm for Trevor Lawrence and Urban Meyer becoming the coach. I told Mike DeRocco from ESPN in the press box the other day, I said, if you'd have told me 5 weeks in that this is where we'd be, I would have gave you $1 million if I had it. I wouldn't have believed it. No way I would have believed that the Jaguars would be 5 weeks in and the apathy has kicked into this situation. Folks are now looking at the draft from next year or for next season in 2022, wondering if Urban is still going to be the coach in 2022. And I think right now it's trending 60-40 that he won't for various reasons. There's some people even wonder if he's going to finish the season because of the way it's going. I'm not willing to go that far yet, but I'm telling you, man, it's caught everybody by surprise. So I'm going to try to be objective and subjective I'm going to be fair-minded in these grades that I'm giving out. Not really grades, just more or less progress report that I'm going to give out here. But I would say that folks are really, really disappointed. And you would think that there would be enough here with the improved play over the last few weeks that folks wouldn't be disappointed. I just think folks are disappointed because they believe that the players were in position to win games and that they were held back by decision-making that came from the sideline. And I think that's something that in the past, we thought that was over. We thought all of that stuff was over with. You know what I'm saying? At least before, there was just such a gap in talent. You could really, really point to it outside of 2017 and some of 18. You could really point to a gap in talent, mainly at critical positions on offense, as to why this team wasn't able to get going. It's not the case anymore. I mean, I'm not saying that Trevor's already a top 10 quarterback, because he isn't. I think James Robinson is hovering around that 10 area or close to it in the teams as a running back. And I think they have good enough receivers that they ought to be able to scheme some stuff up and get open. You see teams that play against us, they're able to do that, even though usually they have like one really good alpha receiver. But for the most part, it just doesn't seem like this team can get over the hump because of situations in the coaching staff. So when people say this all the time, folks go, well, the coach didn't drop that ball, or the coach didn't commit this penalty. Drop balls and penalties have been a part of football forever. Now, you don't want to be You don't want to go over the top with it. You don't want to be a team that is perpetually dropping balls, or that are always offsides, or that are always making boneheaded mistakes. Because at some point that kind of goes back to culture when those things go on. But blown opportunities from a coaching staff, that's just like never ever allowed, because you really don't have any resistance. See, football, you might do something because, man, this dude's getting off the ball, I got to try to cheat. When you're calling plays, you're calling plays. There ain't no resistance for you to do the right thing, regardless of how good the team is on the other side. If you make a call, you got to make a call. If they're better than you, nothing's probably going to work, but at least you have to give yourself a chance. And there's been times when the Jaguars have had chances and it appeared that the coaching is what held them back. And I think that's the biggest surprise. So we're going to get into these grades here. I'm not going to prolong sitting here telling you what we're going to do, because I know you guys are just waiting with bated breath to figure out who did I have as far as a progress report, and where do I think the team is, in order to give us some idea of where we're going to go. Now, here's the sad part. I don't necessarily think they're going to get a whole lot better this year. I don't. So whatever you hear me say now, I think this is the best of it. And the reason why is because I think it's going to get progressively worse, because eventually they're going to get fatigued, and it's going to start wearing on them. Losing does that. When you continue to lose, it doesn't mean you quit. It's just that at some point mentally, you guys start realizing, damn, at some point these guys will start realizing they're playing to put good tape out, and they're not necessarily going to win games, because that schedule is going to get really, really tough here after they come off this bye week in a couple of weeks. That schedule is going to be nasty. So let's discuss it, man. Let's discuss it here on Locked On Jaguars today. I'm going to give out some progress reports, and I'm going to tell you where I think the team is right now, where they're headed, and always looking so good. I'm going to tell you, I am going to point out a few superlatives and some things that actually did work for the team. So we'll do that here in just a second on Locked On Jaguars. All right, man, we're going to roll along here. And first of all, I want to thank betonline.ag for being betonline.ag, because what I mean by that is they have given me an opportunity every single week to be in the action. And you can do the exact same thing and get in on the action at BetOnline, because it's your number one spot for all of the pro and college football action this season. Now they have a new updated site and interface, and even more odds, props, and contests. So it continues to be the number one source for everything football. And it's just so much fun to me, man, that I get a chance every single week to make a little wager and have a little extra something to look forward to, and possibly even make me some money. As opposed to just sitting enjoying the game and enjoying my friends, I can always just take a peek at that slip and see how I'm doing. And it feels good to really, really win. And you can do the same thing if you head to the website or you use your mobile device to sign up today to receive 50% off, a 50% welcome bonus on your first deposit. Don't forget to use our promo code, which is Locked On, to receive your bonus. From football, basketball, boxing was great this weekend. I got that one right too. It's all there, man, at betonline.ag. Even your favorite casino games are all available for you to play. Don't wait to take advantage of the amazing offers available right now at BetOnline, which is your fastest and easiest way to bet on all your favorite sports. All right, man, so get rolling along here, and we thank you here on Locked On Jaguars for making us your first watch again. We love to know that it feels good for me to know that every day I can click and I can see how many people actually tune into the show, and folks are engaging with me on social media, and I love it. And you're the reason I do it. And a lot of the times, and you guys may not know this, but a lot of times I actually get my topics from a lot of questions that you ask, or sometimes if I see a comment that comes in and it's repetitive, and that tells me that the faithful really want to know more about this particular area. So let me give out some good stuff here to make you feel better, even though they're 1-5, and they're probably still going to be ranked 32nd in the power poll that our Locked On analysts put out today. Because you are who you are. I don't care, the little things and who's a warrior and who's like a son to Urban Meyer. Doesn't matter. They're 0-5, and 0-5 is 0-5. By the way, I got a clip of, I think Demetrius posted a clip of Dewey Wingard making business decisions to not tackle Derrick Henry. Look, I get it. I wouldn't do it either, but I'm not also getting paid to do it. So when you look at stuff like that, you realize what is actually wrong. Like, they have war daddies and we got guys that don't want to engage. And the eye in the sky doesn't lie. And you look at it, you go to my social media page and you'll see that clip. It's amazing. It's absolutely amazing that you could just appear to be afraid to hit a guy. Just never seen that before for guys to get paid. Anyway, let's jump on this progress report. Give out some superlatives for the Jaguars in terms of how they're doing so far. You can tell I had a coughing spell. You see my eyes off. Yeah, we're going to cut that out of here, but I got to give out some superlatives for the Jaguars for this early part of the season. Let's go with offensive MVP. Our offensive MVP so far this year, none other than the quarterback, Trevor Lawrence. Why did I pick Trevor Lawrence to be the offensive MVP? Well, I think he's their best player. Close second was James Robinson. Had they been going to James Robinson a little bit earlier than the last 2 weeks, I probably would have chosen James Robinson. But I'll give it to Trevor because without Trevor, this team would be nowhere. If Gardner Minshew was still their quarterback, they'd still be 0-5, but they'd be a worse 0-5 than they are now because they would lack explosive plays. And then if they ever got to the point in a down and distance situation, they would absolutely be way worse. They'd be way worse off because Gardner could not get them out of bad scenarios. There was just no way. It was just impossible for him to do that. So he wasn't going to be able to get them out of bad scenarios. So yeah, the offensive MVP is Trevor Lawrence. He has turned the ball over a lot, but you kind of expect that for a rookie. But really, to me, he's the guy that has done things on offense that we've never, at least 5 or 6 times, he's done things that we expect a guy like that to do with the draft status that he has. But he's also done things that we haven't seen around here for a while. And he's one of the positives that you can take away from this team because he actually gives you the idea that he has the goods on the inside and with his talent. So the organization, once they get their feet under him, will be all right with him as the leader. The defensive MVP, I'm going to go with Devon Hamilton. Devon Hamilton, to me, has been their best player against the run as well as creating pressure against the pass from the nose guard position. I think he's been tremendous. I think he's the kind of guy you want to keep around your football team for about 8 years. He's going to play here for a long time if he's able to stay healthy. He's big, he's strong, he's tall, he's long. He's 6'4", like 330, 325, 330. So he does a lot of stuff well. Bats balls down. He's very active. And once they clean up some stuff around him, people will really see how good he is. Best free agent addition, I'm going to go with, of course, Jamal Agnew. Jamal Agnew had 2 touchdowns. I guess one of them isn't really considered a punt return. It's not because it was like on a missed field goal. So I don't know where it's going to show up statistically, but people know that he actually scored twice on special teams. He's also added some value on offense in the wake of the injury to Travis Etienne. So, yeah. So I'm going to give him that real quick. And I think he deserves it. I think he's going to get a look to be an all-pro too on special teams, especially if he has one more play. It's going to be a wrap. It's going to be over. He's going to be a guy that folks really, really acknowledge is playing extremely, extremely well for the Jaguars. Most improved player, Juwan Taylor. I'm going to give it to him, man. I used to beat up on Juwan Taylor, but Juwan Taylor, in my opinion, has actually played extremely well. You don't hear his name as much as you used to over the last couple of years, and that's a good thing because, we used to hear his name a lot, and now you don't. And when you don't hear an offensive lineman's name, that's really, really a big deal. Plus, in the running game, you can actually go back and look and see he's doing some good things. He's clearing stuff out for James Robinson on that right side. So, and he's also protecting. There's not a lot of pressure coming on Trevor's right side. So, a couple of weeks ago, Von Miller they ran a twist and a stunt. So, you can't really blame him for that one. It was just a good defensive call, and Von Miller's a Hall of Famer. But Juwan Taylor, to me, has been the most improved player on the team. I'm going to get the most disappointing aspect of this team. And I'm going to get to the most disappointing aspect of this team in our next segment because I think you all know where we are going. All right. and then maybe give you some actual letter grades from each individual unit. And I think I will. I'll do that in just a second here on a Tuesday edition of Locked On Jaguars. Listen, man, rockauto.com. Rockauto.com is the place you need to go to get all of your parts and accessories for any make or model of vehicle that you may have. Now, why is it important? It's important, man, because I've never had a good visit to a chain store where they sell parts. It's always been about me trying to answer questions that I don't know the answers to, and waiting for this generic part to be put on the counter so I can pay for it. I'd just rather go to rockauto.com, man, and type in that VIN number and do all of that stuff online. And when they ask me and when they ask you, where did you hear about us? Or how did you hear about us? Write Locked On in that box so that they know we sent you. You're going to save 30 to 50 and sometimes even 100%. You're going to save on your car with your parts and accessories because you went to rockauto.com. Been in business for over 2 decades. It's a family-owned business, and they do a wonderful, wonderful job. And I have always been happy, and you will too. Amazing selection, reliably low prices, all the parts your car will ever need are at rockauto.com. All right, we're going to push through, man, and get this information out to you. And like I said, we are glad to have you as our first listen here on Locked On Jaguars, and it's because you guys are so great and you make it easy to be your team every day here, and we're free on all platforms. You never have to pay for our content, so chalk that one up. Also, make sure you subscribe and go to the YouTube page and subscribe to Locked On Jaguars and tune in every single day, and you can get the audio of my beautiful mug talking about the Jaguars. So, most disappointing aspect, we're giving grades out, a little bit of a progress report. Most disappointing aspect of this team has been Urban Meyer in the front office. And the disappointing part about that is it wasn't supposed to be this way. It was actually supposed to be the other way. It was supposed to be a situation here where they were going to be a strength of this organization. And as it turned out, they have become a bit of a liability and a bit of a weakness. So that's an issue right there that I don't know how it's going to end. I don't know how it's going to be resolved. I kind of hinted earlier that there are a lot of people that don't think he's going to be around for the 2022 season, that they're going to reboot it and try it all over again. I don't have any inside information with that, but just some folks that get the feeling that there are some people that actually respected Urban and his football. This has nothing to do with the personal stuff, but his football stuff. They've kind of lost respect for that because they said he's clueless. I've heard the word clueless from people that I know. It says dude is totally lost. And it's just hard for me to imagine a guy that's been around football that you put a lot of guys in the NFL. So you know the type of guys you put into the NFL that were successful, the Zeke Elliott's and the Joey Bosa's, and you've seen those guys, the Marshawn Lattimore's, the Percy Harvins, the Pouncey twins. You know what that talent looks like. I don't understand how you can't recognize when you have it or don't have it just because you haven't been here. Now, you think everybody's Alabama. You think it's just that some of the things that he says, man, it bewilders me. It's almost as if like you didn't know that. You know, you couldn't figure that out based on just your experience, that there's certain types of guys that can't play at this level. You've seen it before. You were close enough to it. You were feeding those athletes to the NFL. It's just when you listen to some of the things that he says in these press conferences, man, it's just almost, it just blows your mind. And you're like, have you always been like this? Because if you always been like this, then you're not on that Mount Rushmore, in my opinion. You're not, in the line of Coach Saban and all of these other guys that people have been putting you up there with. It just seems like Urban is just lost in the sauce sometimes, man. And some people think it comes across as him just not caring. And I can't say that because I don't know. He looks like a guy that gets really, really bothered by this stuff not working. So I don't know, man. At this point, we'll just have to see if Urban Meyer's ever going to figure it out. And if he's not going to figure it out, then I guess Shad Khan has something he needs to think about if we're going to be moving in a different direction after this year. It's weird that we're even having this conversation, isn't it? After all of the the hoopla and all of that stuff that we're even having this conversation. Don't think that I didn't watch the way Brian Daboll had Buffalo's offense clicking the other night, and I didn't say what if, because he was another one of those guys that I had in terms of getting this job. I said, if they're going to hire a guy without head coaching experience, and I wanted to be Brian Daboll. He was my dude. I know a lot of people love Joe Brady. I like Joe Brady too, but Brian Daboll was my guy. So don't think that I don't have a side eye looking towards Josh Allen's development in the way that offense clicked the other night with the Buffalo Bills. Let me give out some grades real quick. Quarterback with Trevor Lawrence, I'm going to give him a B-. I'm going to give him a B-. And of course, the grades are based on, a little slant or whatever they call it in college when your professor takes other things into consideration. But it's a B- because I do think he's played well. He's shown that he can be the guy that he's going to be the guy for a long haul, and he's going to be able to compete and stand up under pressure against anybody. So I'm going to give Trevor Lawrence a B-. The running back room, I'm going to give that a B+. It's not their fault. They could have been an A, but they're being underused right now. And I think if ETN was there, it would actually probably be that, because I think he would have had one or two explosive plays by now to go along with the steady play of James Robinson. So I'm going to give a B+ to the running backs. To the receivers, I'm going to give them a C. And the reason why I'm going to give them a C, because it seems like sometimes Laviska plays well, sometimes Jones plays well. It's not their fault that it appeared that the other day what the Jaguars coach staff really wanted to do is to show off their tight ends. They got O'Shaughnessy back. They had made the move for Dan Arnold, so they really, really wanted to see what they had in their tight end packages, and those guys deliver. So speaking of tight end, I'm going to give them a C+ as well. They haven't really played consistently well all year, but it does seem like it's no longer just this terrible, terrible unit. Took them a while to fix it now. I mean, most of the guys, they still adding people. So, but it took them a while, right? But it seems like the tight end unit has sort of come around and gotten off the floor a little bit. With the defensive line, I'm going to give them a B+, because I do think they've done a real good job of pressuring and stopping the run and then creating pressure. So I really do like Malcolm Brown, Devon Hamilton, and Doug, is it Costin? Yeah. Oh, Adam Gostis. That's who it is. Adam Gostis. I think those three and that's why I go back to Gostis being a healthy scratch on the opening day and them dressing Taven Bryan. You have to have your finger on the pulse of this team. Anybody with a brain could have told you that Taven was not the player that Adam Gostis is. And Gostis probably could have helped them that day stop the run against Houston. So let's go with the linebackers. Here's where I'm going to fall down a little bit. I'm going to give them a D. And I'm going to give them a D is because they haven't been consistent enough and haven't played well. And mostly it's been Myles Jack and the expectation that everyone here has of Myles Jack and what type of year they thought Myles Jack was going to have. It's just been a little bit of a disappointment, man. It was just thought that Myles was the best player on the team defensively. And as it turns out, it really hasn't looked that way. So, yeah, they need help in that area. I also think they probably let some help go. And you look at little Quincy Williams up in New York, and he's playing lights out, trying to actually act like he won't try to get into the Pro Bowl or something. But we'll see if it works out, if these guys can get it right. But that's an area that a lot of people are targeting again, and the edge guys have not produced. So that's why I'm going to give that low of a grade. I do think DeJuan Smoot has played really, really well in the minutes that he's been given. Defensive backs. Another area for 2 straight years in the offseason, the different front offices really invested heavily in that area. And if you ask most people that observe this team, they'll tell you that that's the area that they need to address along with edge very, very quickly in the offseason. So that'll be 3 straight years that they've used a lot of resources on the DBs, and they just can't seem to find the right ones and that match up. But they got to do a better job of talent evaluation. I wonder if they, instead of choosing Tyson Campbell, if they chose Asante Samuel Jr., if we'd be even sitting here talking about them needing DBs, to be honest with you. I doubt it, very seriously, if we'd even be sitting here talking about it. So they went with their formula. They went with their physical traits formula that they always do, and it bit them because they missed out on a better player. Special teams, I'm going to give it a D also. And the only reason I'm giving it that is because of Jamal Agnew's ability to make plays and get field position and then score those 2 touchdowns. because Logan Cook is normally really, really good. He hasn't been terrible. He's had a couple of kicks that he probably wanted back. But Josh Lambeau has been an absolute mess. This team does not have a field goal through 5 games. I didn't make a mistake. I just said it. They don't have a field goal through 5 games. And that's very terrible. That's absolutely terrible. If you don't believe me, I'll tell you what. I got a couple of guys that listen to a podcast, that make a podcast. It's called Peacock and Williamson. They'll tell you how bad it is. They'll give it to you because Brian Peacock is an analyst and a very good analyst. And Matt Williamson is a former NFL scout, and they give you the expert analysis in less than 30 minutes. It's free and available on all platforms. Thank you for joining me on a Tuesday and making me your first listen. Please make the Peacock and Williamson Show your second listen of the day here on the Locked On Podcast Network. Remember to do the thing that I always tell you to do, and that's to take care of each other. I'm Tony Wiggins. Until tomorrow, take care.